going what we have to say. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is a regular meeting of the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, August 25th, 2020 at 5 p.m. in the County Commission Chambers in LaBelle, Florida. In attendance are Chairman Mitchell Wills, Vice Chair Emma Byrd, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Michael Swindle, County Administrator Jennifer Davis, County Attorney Mark Lapp, and Interim Clerk Kimberly Barno.
Thank you, ma'am. I believe Commissioner Turner is joining us by phone tonight, so he will be in the meeting here shortly. Again, most of these meetings, we try to get the information out. If you have not heard it, phone number to dial in is 877-853-5257. Then you will be prompted to put in an access code, 955-26257584# if you're going to be calling in later. So first thing on the agenda tonight is under bids.
Move option one.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Swindle and a second by Commissioner Byrd.
When? When? How many more years?
It'll be this calendar year.
What?
This calendar year.
Lord,
You're approving the bid right now.
well, it's been 3 years.
We'll be starting construction soon.
Okay, you can sit down.
Sidewalk commissioner there in a hurry for those.
Yeah.
Goes right by
Nobody
the
seems
house.
to get them but him.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman. Hey, this is Commissioner Turner. I think I just hear somebody saying when, but I can't hear anything else that anybody else has said.
I don't think that mic might
Other
be
than
on.
you.
Yes, sir. Hang on one
Other than
second.
you.
That was all he said, was a win.
Is it on?
It's on now, yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Turner. The mic was unmuted, so we're good. It was cut. Mr. Parker had answered the question, said it'd be this calendar year.
Mr.
Maybe.
Turner, I can't, I think I just hear.
What?
Oh,
What'd you say?
Okay?
he just disappeared.
We lost him. Do you still have him?
I still haven't connected, yes, I believe.
What'd he say?
It's kind of echoing.
Yeah.
Still can't hear.
Mr. Chairman, do you need me to say anything else?
There you are. Yes, sir. We was making sure you could hear now.
Yeah, I can hear everybody now, but I'm going back to mute.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Once again, we had a motion by Commissioner Swindle, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to the consent agenda.
Anything being
Move to
pulled?
accept.
Nothing's been pulled, no, sir.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Swindle. Is there any further discussion on this? I forgot to ask him on the telephone just then, so I'll ask him now. If anyone from the telephone has any comments, this would be the time to speak up. We need to get a video so we can see the little hand pop up. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that's going to take us down to public hearings. Assemblage.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. Margaret Embledge for the record. This first public hearing agenda item is RZ 17-0005. The applicant is Brian Paul. They were represented by Baracco and Associates. This is a mixed-use development at the corner of West State Road 80 and Fort Denode. It is one of the first projects that is utilizing the West Hendry Planning Overlay that's been in place for a number of years now, and which means that it has certain design criteria that requires some, additional clustering and open space and conservation over and above what we normally see. The LPA voted in favor of the project. There were no comments from the public, and staff is recommending several conditions in order to ensure that it will be consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land development code.
I move to accept.
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Swindle. This is a hearing of the public, so does anyone in the public would like to address this at this time? Anyone on the phone wish to address this at this time? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, this next public hearing is for a variance. The property is located on Lillian. The parcel is part of a 1925 plat. The original lots, many of them in that area, were only 40 feet wide, and which this project or property is only 40 feet wide. And they wanted to be able to put a new mobile home on it, and in order to fit the mobile home that they would like to place, they required a setback variance on the north side of the property that would result in a 4-foot side yard setback. The local planning agency is in favor of the variance. There were folks at the public hearing that spoke, but basically their position was they were not against the variance. They just had some other concerns that are not applicable to a variance request.
I'll move up to one.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Swindle, second by Commissioner Harris. Does anyone in the public would like to address this? Anyone on the phone like to address this? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Kenny?
Have a good night. Thank you.
I'll call you later. Like 2 days ago.
You on this
Go ahead.
You on this private phone
Sir?
number? You on this private phone
No, sir.
number? You want that?
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, that takes us down. Staff reports. Ms. Davis.
Yes, sir. So before you have a draft of the interlocal agreement for fire.
Hang on one second. We don't need to put your mic there. That way everybody can hear you.
Emailed out earlier today, that's okay, was the draft agreement for the interlocal for the fire. And so it's not necessary to necessarily approve it tonight. The city of Clewiston is reviewing. They may come back. You heard the manager say they may have a few comments. And so we can work that out from a staff perspective and bring it back to a September meeting if that is
Can we do
agreeable.
that, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
If that's agreeable to you all, I think that would be
I
more.
don't have a problem with it, but just I've been away from my desk all day and I didn't have time to look at it, digest it, and take it in. And I'm sure it's not going to be problematic, but just want to make sure
Sure.
we all lay eyes on it, take time to talk about it.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
sounds good.
okay, good deal.
Thank you. Number 2.
Second item before you is consideration for the Harlem Civic Center. Improvement Council made a request to rename the Harlem Civic Center and Cultural Center to Howard L. McKyer Community Cultural Center. And so before you have a write-up, you have a copy of the policy, and in that policy, it talks about renaming a facility. So because of that language in the policy, I wanted to bring it to you, the board, to consider whether or not you wanted to consider renaming the facility since it was done back in 2018. If it was a naming request for a facility that had not been named prior, then it would have followed a slightly different path. So this is for your
Yeah, I just have
discussion.
one question. Commissioner Burton, what's your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, I recommend that we do not rename the facility. It already been renamed. I did have a community meeting concerning this. I did speak to the person that brought it to my attention, and they never readdressed it with me again. But it came back to the board. But I think it already been renamed, and I think that the public should have more input and not as an organization. So I would like, if anything, I would take it to the public, but I do not want to rename it. It was a reason to name it cultural, so I choose not to.
You gonna make a motion? Do we need a motion?
Do they,
We're not deciding anything.
No, we're not deciding anything at this point.
so you're not making a motion to take it to a public hearing, so that would have been the motion if you chose to do that.
Right. I don't think you have to have a motion. I mean, you do have one or more people who'd like you to do something, but you've stated your opinion. I think you may have some people on the phone you want to hear from.
Okay, if we have anyone on the phone who'd like to speak to this, if you would at this time?
Yes, I would. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, real quick, before, this is Commissioner Turner.
Yes, sir.
I would just like to say, regardless of whether, anyone, and Ms. Byrd, please understand with the utmost respect, I'm going to,
You
Commissioner
lost
Turner,
him?
we're losing you.
Is he gone from there?
No, he's still connected.
No.
He just dropped.
He dropped him.
Yeah.
Probably in a bad area.
Okay, we'll give him a few minutes to call back. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this moment?
Yes, I would. Janet Taylor here.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure who Ms. Byrd was referring to when she said nobody got back to her. But if it was me, she called me and told me that she didn't want to name it because it had been renamed. And that was in February, right after February 18th when we did it.
technology.
Is Carson back on?
I think he's coming back on.
Hey, Ms.
Okay, let Carson go.
Hey, Commissioner Turner, we lost you there, sir.
Is that Ms. Taylor?
It is.
Hey, Carson.
Hey, Mr. I'm gonna be 30 seconds or less. Let me tell y'all what I'm gonna say.
Believe that.
I don't care if we don't name the civic center after Mr. McCarr, but we need to find a building. We need to do it in his community. We need to honor that man, and we need to do something for Mr. Humphreys. I'm saddened that I didn't have the fortitude to bring this up before Mr. McCarr passed. It hurts me to the pit of my tummy. He was my principal. I get excited about doing this. And Ms. Byrd, I hope that you will find a place for us to honor one of the only African American principals that I know of in the history of our school system. And as far as I'm concerned, he did an amazing job because there's a lot of people that I know that are extremely successful that came out of Clifton Primary School, and he was in charge of it. And so that's my 2 cents, and I'll hush now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Turner. I have spoke with some of the families, and when due time, because of the virus, it will come to the community. And you're right, we will be honoring the both of them. And when I continue to, speak with the family, then we'll bring it to the community. But they should be and they will be honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Turner.
Ms. Taylor.
Ms. Taylor.
Ms. Taylor, did that answer the questions or comments you had, or we're going to be bringing this back just at this point right now?
I haven't finished. When Commissioner Byrd said she spoke with somebody and never got back to her, were you referring to me, Commissioner Byrd?
I was referring to you. I spoke to you, and I really wasn't looking for you to get back to me. I just wanted to explain to you that the building was not up for rechanging the name. We had already changed it one time, and we wasn't looking to rechange the name. But we are looking to honor those 2 gentlemen that you presented to the board in February. And it will come to pass just because of the virus. But I did speak with some of the family members, and when we finish, crossing our T's and dotting our I's, we will bring it to the community.
Can you tell me which family members you spoke to?
Yes,
Because Ricky McCarr is the one who came back to me, and I think
Well, I spoke to
told
Ms.
Jennifer
Humphrey. I
this.
have not spoke to Ms. McCarr yet, but I will do so.
No, I'm just saying now. This is the issue. When Commissioner Byrd called me, and that was in February, 6 months ago, and she said it had just been renamed. I was not aware it had just been renamed, but she said that she wanted to do something in honor of Mr. Humphrey. She wanted to do the pool. And I said to her at that time, I said, well, I wouldn't think it's appropriate to do the pool since the pool was provided by U.S. Sugar and they had already named it in honor of somebody, and to not go back and re-honor it would be a injustice to that individual. Now, she never said to me that she spoke to the family, because when Ricky, Jennifer, you have the emails, and Commissioner Byrd, you should have the emails as well, because I copy it. When Mr. McCar's son came to me, he wanted to know what took the county 6 months to even bring up the request. And I told him, I said, well, Commissioner Byrd called me and said that. And I said to you, Commissioner Byrd, that's fine. If today all I wanted you to do was bring it before the board and let the board determine, no, that's not what we want to do, because we have community support all over. We have all the community support to name that building. Let me give you a little history on the building. That building was built for the Harlem Tennis Association by U.S. Sugar. The Harlem Tennis Association, under the leadership of Mr. McCar, was there for, I don't know how many years, but he was actually president of Harlem Tennis Association for 40 plus years. Under that building, he brought everything. That building was run by the Harlem Tennis Association under his guidance for many, many years. When it got where it could no longer be managed because we just didn't have the funding, we donated that building to the county. That building is of great significance to Mr. McCar. Mr. McCar was the founding person, and to not honor him, to name it, me personally, even if you had named that building 2 weeks ago, if somebody of Mr. McCar's stature and standard and the family and everybody, when we're talking about doing something later, it's just a disservice to the people who put so much into our communities. Mr. McCar is one of those people that has really been on the forefront, not only for Clewiston, you all, but LaBelle as well. And for somebody not to want to honor him in a position that his family wanted that building named after, to me is a great disservice. But we will honor and we will abide, and we have no choice but to abide by whatever. We are doing things in COVID, and this is 6 months down the road. And when we approached this was pre-COVID. It really says a lot about the commission that we will not honor people that needs to be honored. And when we're talking about doing something later and finding, we don't have, the gym is named after somebody. We have one other thing out there, and that's the pavilion. And the pavilion and the Civic Center is only two facilities that could be named after somebody. So, I mean, I'm just really, I'm more than disappointed that the commission would not even allow it to come to the Clewiston meeting for the community to say. And because an organization brought it, that organization is an integral part of the Harlem community. And because the organization brought it, should not be a damper put on it because it wasn't brought by the commissioner. It was presented to the commissioner. So it was presented to the commissioner if in good faith the commissioner brought it to the community, or even, we're in COVID times. So in COVID times, we do stuff virtually. And there's virtually anything we could have done to make this happen.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, well, at this point, we got your point there, and we are as a board going to honor these men. There's no one said we are not going to honor them. So as far as the board's position on this, we are going to honor them two men. It won't be at this particular moment, but they will be honored. So I understand your frustration and your concern, but at this point, we are we're gonna talk with the families. We're gonna make sure that the families are behind what they want. And in a future time, let me finish. I didn't interrupt you. Let me finish. And we will, Ms. Taylor. We're gonna make sure that everything's taken care of to honor these people. So give us a chance to work on it. It's brought to us tonight, and we're gonna be moving forward with it.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, I apologize for cutting you off, but bringing it to you 6 months later, I think is just not right.
Well, that's unfortunately, that's just where we're at, and we got to move forward from here with it. So, and you understand the way that works. You was on the board for many years, and sometimes, unfortunately, things like that happen.
I understand that when something's to the board, it should be brought to the board. That's what I understand.
Okay, well,
but
we're going to work on
I do appreciate you all, and I will be getting back with the family, and I hope that in your heart that you are not just dishonoring this because it's our organization that brought the request.
No,
I
ma'am.
really do feel sad that an organization in a community working would not be honored. But
No.
thank you all so much.
They will be honored. Thank you. Okay, we don't, not doing anything on this right now. We don't need move motions or anything at point. Okay.
I,
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
the only thing I'd like to add to that was, I think Ms. Taylor said that just the pavilion is named after somebody. We actually conferred, correct me if I'm wrong, we have the Florida B. Thomas Library, and then did we name the gym after Mr. Hart? I don't
Yes.
remember.
Yes, the gym.
Yes,
south.
sir.
And then I'd like to know, Jennifer, if we get a chance, I don't know, I want to say that in our policy now, a building or a structure or something can be named after someone living. And I just think that we need to really look at that because I'm very proud that we honored Miss Thomas, Florida Thomas, prior to her passing, you know?
Yes.
I just, I think that we need to look at that because if we have someone that has done great things in our community and they're getting up there in their stage, I think that we need to honor them in their twilight. And that's it. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna hush now.
Yeah, I agree with that, Commissioner Turner. That's something we do need to look at. I mean, it's nice to honor them after they pass, but it'd be a lot nicer to have them acknowledge why they're still here to accept that. So I agree with that. We need to look at that policy.
But they normally wait till they die, and they don't know anything about it.
Well,
Thank
we're
you all.
We're gonna try to change that, Mr. Harris.
Just to be clear on this last point, the policy, the current policy, it's in your packet.
Yes, sir.
Article 3, Section A 6. It's on page 3 of the policy.
Okay.
It says, except where otherwise indicated, facilities and public property shall not ordinarily be named for living individuals. So it states a preference not to name for living individuals, but you could.
Well, it should be the other way around.
It's whatever you want, but I mean, it does allow you, it gives you flexibility.
I mean, when they die, it's too late.
We're gonna need some sidewalks up here. A whole bunch of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
we got a comedian down at the end. Got his mask on.
Okay, thank you. So next, Ms. Emlich. Ms. Davis, that was you complete, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Emlich?
Commissioners, Margaret Embledge for the record. This agenda item is a request to proceed with a county-initiated comprehensive plan text amendment. This is for the agriculture future land use category. And the purpose of this is to allow for a minimum acreage of 2 acres, which would address some of the inconsistencies that we have in the community where parcels are zoned RR, rural residential, which allows 2-acre parcels. However, some of them are within the agriculture future land use category. And since the agricultural future land use category requires a minimum of 5 acres, regardless of the zoning, you would have to have 5 acres. So the folks with the rural residential zoning would have to have 5 acres in order to have a home or to develop the property. Well, we're proposing to go ahead with an amendment that would address, that inconsistency with those properties. And what, well, that doesn't help. We provided you with exhibits, and it shows the areas which this would benefit. And, much of it is, as you can see, around the Case and Evans Road, and then some various locations throughout the county. But this would, just so you understand, that if you're zoned A2, which is agriculture, you would still, and you are in the future land use category of agriculture, you would still have to have 5 acres because of the zoning requires a minimum of 5 acres. Comprehensive plans often have for for the minimum acreages requirement often have ranges of density, ranges of land size that's required. And our current comp plan has a very specific, you have to have a minimum, in this case, of 5 acres. And it's something that I want to look at. We want to look at throughout all of the future land use categories to add some more flexibility, because we need to be prepared for, in the future, for the market, especially for higher density development as well. So anyway, that's all I have to add here, and we're asking for permission to go forward with this amendment.
Question. Okay, what is Evans Road? 5? Evans Road,
Yes,
Evans and Case
yes.
are 5. So what is B Road?
B Road has agriculture and also,
Several different ones on it.
Yeah,
Quite
there's-
a few different
right.
classifications down there.
right.
So what would it be?
This situation would not necessarily, it would only benefit some of the parcels.
Actually, it encompasses the existing,
Yeah.
so the ones coming, it's not going, it's just the ones that are existing.
Okay. So does that mean A Road would be the same as B?
Not necessarily.
It's different.
So, the maps that you guys, or the map that you were provided, shows all of the properties that are zoned rural residential. So those are the ones that this is most likely going to impact. The properties that are zoned general agriculture are going to stay general agriculture. So I've highlighted in the map, in the larger map, you can see that there's areas that are covered in like a green sort of polka dotted pattern. Those are all of the areas in the county that have agriculture future land use. Then you have smaller maps off to the side that are showing all of the rural residential properties that are within the agriculture future land use. So the properties that are in green are at least 2 acres. The properties that are in red are under 2 acres. So we do have some rural residential properties in agriculture future land use that are less than 2 acres, and they would not meet the new requirement, but they are not conforming at the moment. Our intent with the future land use amendment, the text amendment, would be to bring more properties into compliance with the comprehensive plan, as rural residential is like an implementing zoning district for agriculture. They're related, but not necessarily have the same standards, if that sort of makes sense.
You good?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, who's just speaking?
Katie, the planner.
You have to give them your name, dear.
Sorry,
Okay.
Katie Wellner, planner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Swindle, you got?
I didn't want to cut Mr. You're good.
On Wheeler Road, how'd you come up with 1.1? That sounds like a odd number.
So the second exhibit shows the zoning districts, and they're implementing future land use districts, and it shows the minimum lot sizes. I believe the minimum lot sizes for Wheeler was the standard that it was platted at.
Yes.
So that's what, most of those properties were platted at that size, which became the standard for that district. It would not be impacted by this text amendment because it has a separate future land use category.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. So either Mr. Walter or Ms. Emmons, either one, and maybe both. So I don't have a problem. I see what we're doing. I think it's good. I think it's good future planning so that we can not wind up losing so much of the green space, so I get it. I'm okay with that. But I'm racking my brain, and it seems like every time we do something like this, several years down the road, there's a consequence or there's something to it and that we're like, oh, we didn't, so what are we missing? There's gotta be something here. What is the downside? What can we anticipate this not, or producing that, is gonna cause either financial, physical, sewer, water, infrastructure? What are we missing here that this is not all rosy?
The majority of these areas have no sewer or water, just so
Well-
Yeah.
Okay. The majority of the areas that we are, I'm going to call it fixing them so that the zoning and the comp plan are consistent. They're surrounded by properties that actually were previously split, but don't meet the comp plan because for years, folks were not looking at the comp plan as a governing document. They were just looking at the zoning. So in many cases, we have some smaller lots that were created and inappropriately. And that's one of the benefits is that, you know, those parcels will be conforming now with the future land use. I don't see any downsides of this particular change because this is in areas that are already developing or developed. And again, to me, it's a benefit and I don't, there's not even unintended consequences because the point that Katie had brought up is that there's some parcels that are less than 2 acres and how they got split and how they got established, we don't know because they don't meet anything as far as the requirements. They don't meet RR, they don't meet the future land use. So I appreciate what you're thinking. I do feel like we've done some patchwork fixes over time. Quite honestly, what we need to do is an overhaul on our comp plan, our future land use element primarily. And that takes a lot of effort, and that's something that we would love to be able to do if, you know, we had a grant monies or whatever.
Sure, understood. And I wasn't implying this was patchwork by no means. I just wanted to make sure that we were thinking about it holistically from the 30,000-foot level. Thank you.
Right,
You-
yes.
The other side of this is that with the rural residential zoning designation, the minimum lot size is 2 acres. So right now, if you have a 4-acre rural residential property and you want to split off half of it and give it to your offspring, your son, your daughter, whomever, you can't do it even though the zoning district would allow it, the future land use does not. So we're essentially creating a situation where the future land use and the zoning district would both allow that, and you would be able to utilize your property a little bit more freely than what you are currently allowed.
Okay. Okay.
Any other
Good.
questions?
Thank you, very good. I move option 1.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Swindle, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion on the board? Anyone on the phone would like to address this? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Lapp.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're back in front of you on this operation of off-highway vehicles, follow-up to the discussion on July 28th. Commissioner Turner had a few questions. One was the minutes from the ATV opt-out discussion back in '06 and '07, so there were a bunch of meetings, and you've had those minutes there. And so you can see that, and I'll answer any questions about that if you have any. And then the other issue about the ROVs, recreational off-highway vehicles, whether they can be retrofitted to be street legal. And I figured Mr. Langford, as a tax collector, would be a good person to discuss it with, and he said he's aware that there are facilities that will do that, but it's up to the state whether to allow it, and he checked with his Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicle contact, and they said you can't retrofit it and get authorized to be street legal for an ROV in Florida. That's what he was told. So that's what I have to report. I'll answer any questions.
Or have you had any follow-up community meetings?
No, sir.
You have not?
No, I don't want to have the county be held liable
Sure.
for having
Right.
a follow-up meeting and.
Right.
so-
Just because of the situation, right?
Yes, sir.
Are
I
you
mean,
still getting calls?
Say again?
Are you still getting calls from the community?
Not a high volume, but there's still a good half a dozen people minimally, that's on the low end, that are, they're paying attention to what we're discussing, and they want to know, can they legally ride their four-wheeler or their ROV or their Polaris around, because they're riding them now.
Yeah.
And the concept is, I think a way of looking at it, Commissioner Swindle, is, if you let a sleeping dog lie and you behave responsibly, Henry County Sheriff's Department is not gonna hammer on you. They're not gonna, issue a citation. But I also think to the bad actors out there, in the event, it's easy for Henry County Sheriff's Department to, apprehend somebody on a four-wheeler or something, which is, that's debatable. So how much resources are you devoting towards this? And there's just a handful of variables that make it a very muddy, discussion.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
I can tell you it's happening every day, in Pioneer and Montura. It happens a little bit in Flaghole, but in Flaghole and Montura, I'm 43, it's been happening longer than I've been alive.
Sure.
If it was the Big Red ATC back in the day, or it's Mr. Steadley and his granddaughters going to, Joe's, convenience store down there, to get a pizza or a Diet Coke, in Flaghole, it happens, so, just trying to, find a way to get everybody in there to where they can, feel better about what they're doing, but,
And really, the main rub still comes in on large holiday weekends where there's massive amounts of folks, correct?
we're gonna have a herd of humans on Labor Day in Pioneer that are tearing up Henry County roads and, drainage easements and stuff like that. And the residents that live there and provide the tax base for us to be able to do what we do are gonna be irate mad about it.
Yeah.
Mr. Townsend called me today, was so nice about the fact that Shane refuses to put any dirt on his road and refuses to fix his guardrail as we're leaving out on Ever High Acres, and he doesn't know why we're mad at him. I'm taking a little bit of a jab at Shane, but I know nobody's mad at him or anything like that. But the gist of what I'm saying is that, the people that live there aren't driving crazy down those moral roads. It's the weekend warriors,
I took a call recently from Port LaBelle, and it was a husband and wife who retired from up north and moved here. Said they hunted and finally found LaBelle, love it, love the location, love the area, love the people, but they're ready to put their house up for sale because of the ATCs tearing the greenways up, all the ditches, and code enforcement, lack thereof around their home, around the other homes, people just piling. He said, this is negating all the positive things here.
Well, I had a lunch at Joe's Gator Bait on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, I believe it was. And I had to bite my tongue because I was being lectured that, we better get ready because the people from Miami-Dade are moving up here and they're going to be aggressive, and we need to just understand that's the way it's going to be. And I just sat there, and I have a lot of respect for the person that was saying this to me, and I hope they're tuned in and listening. But I would love to have that conversation with them, not in a vacuum. I would love to have that conversation with a half a dozen or 20 people in the room, because, it was ironic to me that in that conversation, that person alluded to the fact that they came here to get out of the concrete jungle of Hialeah, but yet we need to change. I just kind of took it as we need to change to be ready to adapt to meet their needs. And, I've been hammered on by people from Miami-Dade because our mosquito control isn't good, and you live in Pioneer, we don't have a helicopter that flies over and does like off of 88 and Chrome, so.
We're gonna get bit.
Yep.
Agreed. So at this point in time, we're not looking to take any action.
That's not my goal is to not take any action. My goal is to simply provide us with a background, and then, I kind of am wanting to set up a Zoom meeting. I don't think it's going to go over very well, but I want to see how it is received with the Pioneer community. But I just can't in good conscience ask people to get into a room and have a bit of discussion, because I don't think there was anybody from the staff that was in one of the meetings on a Saturday, but I mean, there was 150, 180 people in that place, and
That's too many.
I'm not going to be the one responsible for creating that,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Parker?
Chairman, the one item I have for you, the supplemental funding agreement for LaBelle Airport Taxiway and Taxi Lane Rehabilitation Project. I did not receive the funding agreement from FDOT, so hopefully I'll have that for the next board agenda. But I do have two walk-on items which I emailed out yesterday.
Mr. Parker, I'm sorry to cut you off. Is this one of those situations that's gonna hold you up? Do you need approval to move forward, or can it wait till the next meeting once you get?
No, it can wait. I mean, it does
Okay.
hold me up, but the reason being, there could be language that's in that agreement that has to be placed in everybody's contract. And
Understand?
But you're,
Okay.
you're talking about, Commissioner Swindle, you're talking about if FDOT comes through with the funding source.
they're coming through. It's just in legal department
Right.
being processed.
Well, why don't we take an action? I know where you're leaning towards, and I think we've all kind of gotten,
Well, it'd be forever before they get the money.
I mean, I believe you'll have,
Plenty
should
of
be for the
time.
next board agenda.
Okay.
And they were anticipating today.
we are not stopping construction from occurring.
Let me just say that
It
it's
sounds like we are.
well, it's going to be a grant agreement, and DOT requires that the board adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the grant agreement, and it really doesn't fit to authorize it. You can't approve a resolution you don't have when you don't have the agreement.
But another 2 weeks is not gonna kill you is what we're
No,
asking.
it's
Okay.
not.
How much construction are we holding up?
The whole entire project. We haven't started yet because there could be, in that agreement, there could also be assurances that have to be included in the contract with the CEI contractor and the actual construction contractor.
Okay.
So, but it's okay. It's fine. First item I have is extension of interlocal agreement between Henry County and the Port LaBelle Community Development District for mowing of county right-of-ways. The board previously approved a 5-year contract. I want to exercise the fifth. There's a 1-year option allowed in that agreement the board approved, but it didn't allow staff to move forward with it, so I need board approval to move forward with that
So
1-year
moved.
extension.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Swindle, second by Commissioner Harris. Any further discussion on that one?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
this is, how does this work as a pass-through? Like, they pay into a kitty?
No, sir,
Explain
we pay Port LaBelle Community Development District to mow the county road right-of-ways in
Right.
Port LaBelle.
Understood,
Because
thank
they're
you.
mowing all, they got a majority of the roads. so-
Gotcha, gotcha.
All right.
Hang on, anyone on the phone like to address this? Sorry. Did you have anything to add before we vote on that? You're good?
I'm good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. The last item I have for you is bid number 2020-30, roof repairs at various county-owned buildings. This is for 4 buildings, 3 of which are at Everglades. 1 is the Harlem Civic Center. The 3 at Everglades are the 2 large hangars at Skydive leases, and also the Clewiston Tank Wash building that was the former Ocean Boy building. And this will be roof repairs, which will consist of 7-year workmanship, 20-year silicone roofing system.
This is the painted, you're not re-roofing, you're putting the covering over it.
Right, cleaning a membrane over the top
Okay.
that will satisfy all 4 buildings
Okay.
for some time. The board previously approved the county administrator to
I'll make
approve.
a motion to approve, the item with Clyde Johnson Contracting and Roofing, correct? At
Second.
111?
Correct, yep.
Yep, 111,000, for, the projects that he just listed, various
Second.
county-owned buildings.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion on this?
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just catching up on the reading part, but, the county, everything, all the money you need is in the Everglades Airport budget, correct?
Well, Harlem Civic Center is being paid for
Okay,
by
outside
line
of the
of
Harlem
credit.
Civic Center, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay, that's all.
But if you can find a way to support the Harlem Civic Center out of Everglades budget, feel free.
I'm sure if Jennifer could make it happen.
Any comments on the phone?
We'll do jail next. Say,
Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I thought we got rid of that Ocean Boy, Lord Jesus.
Don't even mention it.
No, don't say that word.
Causing me heartburn up here.
You own all the facilities up there.
No shrimp.
I thought
shack.
I thought we'd re-roofed all the airport stuff back when the storm come through 10 years ago. We didn't. I thought, okay.
10 years ago?
It's been longer than that, hasn't it? I've only been around about 30 years, sir. You would put that right there, wouldn't you? Old business? Thank you, sir. Old business. We got any discussion on that?
The only comment I have is, I don't know what happened. I got a little overzealous on the CARES update, and so those numbers came out wacky on your old business, so I apologize. Business applications to date have been 136. Individual applications received to date have been 145. And so staff is actually working on them right now. So Ian, that's why he didn't come to the workshop, because they are really getting them rolled out. So it took a little while. I know there's been a lot of questions. We have approved quite a few.
Yeah.
Yes, we have. I don't have the exact numbers, but I can get those to you. There was really more incomplete applications, quite honestly, that came through than complete. So then we have to send, correspondence out, say, you're missing this item or these 2 or 3 items, and then you wait, and then they call and, correspond back and forth, and then we get them back, and then they're processing them. But I looked right before we left to see kind of where they were, and they've been knocking them out today.
Have we started releasing any funds yet?
That's what I was gonna follow up with that,
So there's some that have been approved, and so when they get the approval email, if you will, because it's all electronic, there's an affidavit email that goes right behind it, and they have to sign an affidavit, and it has to be notarized, attesting to various different things. This is no different than what other counties are doing. Many other counties, I'm not going to say all counties, but many other counties are doing. And once we receive that affidavit back, then that's what will trigger it going for a payment request to the clerk's office. And so I believe they have received some back. I don't know if they've trickled it back to the clerk's office as of yet, but they did a lot of work today, probably more today than what we've done cumulatively. So they've got everything
Hopefully
rolling.
be releasing funds maybe as early
Yes,
as
sir.
next week.
Very soon. Yes, sir.
So it's roughly 275 folks, applications that's been in and approved, is that right?
Not approved, received.
Received.
Yes, sir. Yes.
How do we feel? Do we feel like we were worried a month ago about where we're gonna get it out there. I think that's pretty darn good numbers, isn't it?
We had a lot of coverage, and then in the trim, as we've talked about before,
Right.
it was again in the trim, and everybody received those, I think, last week. I think I got mine last week, yesterday. Okay. So in my mind, I'm wondering if we may not get another wave now that they've hit everybody's mailboxes, so.
Hey, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
were you done?
Yes, sir.
If you've received PPE dollars, payroll protection, it has no bearing on whether you're gonna be able to qualify or not for this application.
So you can have already
It's a completely separate pot of money.
You can have already received CARES money, whether it be PPP or SBA, or, there's USDA
Yes.
versus, I don't know, there may be some other pots I'm not aware of. And so that's where that affidavit comes in. So you're basically, if you qualify and you're approved, you're attesting that you're not double dipping,
Yep.
of course, but you could have got PPP, that's just paid check protection, but then you may qualify for our 10,000, say, business grant, and that's paying for some other operating expenses that have absolutely nothing to do with personnel expenses, so that's absolutely eligible.
So the reason why I asked that, Mr. Chair, is I had 2 businesses this week reach out to me wanting to know, because they were told by their bookkeeper. And, my personal thoughts are their bookkeeper either A, doesn't quite understand, or B, just doesn't want to do the extra work on this application process, which happens from time to time. And so, and I'm talking about small mom and pop outfits. The reason why I say that, Ms. Davis, is I think that it would be good. I haven't looked at what our social media outlet or, anything that we're doing to push this information out the door, but I think that we ought to challenge our business community again, if they have questions
Sure.
about it, to reach out directly to the county.
And we have a FAQ page, and so I'm pretty sure we explained that
That
on there,
covers it.
but maybe we'll be go into a little bit more detail to make sure everybody understands more clearly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Is that it? Okay, it's gonna bring us to the hearing of the public portion. If anyone of the public would like to address the board. Anyone on the phone have any comments? Okay, business by district. Commissioner Swindle,
I'm good this evening, thank you.
Commissioner Byrd,
Yes, just want to thank everyone for my reelection. Want you to know I appreciate you for the support, but I also want you to know that we work together. And if you don't work with me, then it hurts more for the community. So I ask that you work with me. Don't keep me out the loop. Don't push me to the side because I'm here. I'm here for the next 4 years, and I'm here to work with the people of Henry County. So I want to say thank you.
It's gonna be hard to do.
Commissioner Harris.
One thing, did we ever hear anything from Glades County on the fire station?
We actually had a meeting scheduled last week that got rescheduled,
Okay.
and so we're working to get it rescheduled, and we'll bring an update back to
They
you.
didn't get their funding, though, did they?
No, we did not receive the funding, but I spoke with Mr. Jones, and we were going to meet up and try to come up with some other plans outside of the funding, the appropriation request, to see what we might be able to do working
'Cause we
together
can
to move
still do
forward.
something.
Yes, sir. It just will look, it'll look different. So we're working to bring that forward.
We're close now to being able to ask again. We're almost right. Is it gonna be a second round of it, do you think?
Well, we're also working on our appropriation
Correct.
priorities that we can talk and see if that's something we want to request again. But our conversation was more, what can we do sooner than later?
Yeah.
Just to try to be able to have that service on the north side of the river without necessarily an appropriation request.
But it's been dragging on too long.
COVID police are gonna get you.
You good?
He's in the back. See him smiling?
Commissioner Turner?
Shane, if you could look into that guardrail, Hurricane Irma's when it got destroyed. And then, just, with all the rain and stuff that we've been getting, make sure our mall roads are getting some love as well. But that's it, really. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, sir. And piggybacking on that, just curiosity, with all the rain we're getting, you know, are all the tributaries that we're responsible for, are they open and running? I've got quite a few folks from Glades County who's reached out to me and, you know, Fort Deneau and North LaBelle where they're flooding, which we know we get sheet flow. I get that. I just want to make sure all of our end is open and running.
Shane Parker for the record. Yes, sir. They're open and running, starting from east to west. The East Henry County Drainage District pumps were running over the weekend in anticipation of a storm event from Laurel, which didn't come, but they were pumping. Messer Canal is open. It's draining. Austin Relief Canal is running. So everything that we got control of, boards and Pioneer, been adjusted. So everything's moving.
Yeah.
And we had crews out Saturday after the rain, unplugging stuff as we typically do. And in advance of it, they were making sure everything was cleaned up the best we could with the crews we had.
And
So-
North LaBelle looks good.
North LaBelle, I mean, we had the typical spots that flood. There's certain areas on Trader and Center, Kirby Thompson, Ivan,
But that's
portion of
normal.
Nobles, but stuff's moving.
Yeah, the one area, next to Mr. Parsons, they had filled in some drainage there.
We are aware of that, and a landowner called me Friday, and I couldn't speak with him, but I went and got pictures Saturday showing him the area that he filled in just got washed back out. So I'll be meeting with him to show him the stuff he needs.
Yeah, I actually met with one of the, by phone, I met with Mr. Gregory a week or so ago, talked to Jerry Jones, and he was looking at that. Said you guys was working on that. And then he did tell me that you got there Saturday, so we do.
Yeah.
And that's part of a drainage that,
It is, and it's
Is that the same
actually.
Jerry Jones that owns the Cowboys?
sir.
I'll be right.
They're a lot
We
cooler than
wish.
it was.
We're going back this way.
That's the Austin Relief was running, and when it runs high, it kicks over that way and goes to the
Right.
Blue Branch. So it has to flow.
Yes.
And so-
The second question on that is polywog. I guess I misunderstood that. We do nothing north of 78 on polywog?
I think y'all are making that
No.
word up. I think you're just having fun now.
It's fish bait.
North of
Fish bait.
Polywog, no, sir, we don't.
So we don't. I thought that was the area we were purchasing,
We were looking at purchasing a lot.
right,
to-
because it was eroding the,
But I failed to do the title search before I brought it to the board, and there was a huge DEP fine on it. And
so who would be, you know, in order to get that cleaned out, what does that take on our part of it?
right of entries for them to clean. We did do a study of every place that has all debris, and do the whole county in vegetation, but that would require right of
Does
entry.
the access, like, if we were in ownership of that property, would that, could you explain that to us in good detail?
Yes.
The reason why I'm saying is because you're saying that we were offered it up. I remember us chatting about this. And then there, when you did title search, there was, what's a huge number?
I want to say it was almost like close to 100.
And what was
I'm
it in
thinking
reference to?
DEP violation.
But how old, what was it?
I don't recall. I just know it was,
Alteration, I think it was drainage alterations in the ditch that we're talking about.
Because the reason why I bring this up is, this is a direct tributary into the Caloosahatchee BMAP.
right.
If DEP knows that we could get control over something, and they're the people that are holding the master key over the fines, and this would allow us to create a better situation from drainage and sheet flow and all of that, they might be receptive to having a good conversation with
We
us.
just gotta have, preferably it would be nice to have easements, that we can come and go as we please.
Yeah.
But we have no easements, and if we did, short of an easement, we need right of entry.
Mr. Chair, is that a commissioner talking to the landowner, or is that staff talking to the landowner?
That's the reason I'm asking the question tonight. It's usually staff starts it and then we go from there. But I know in that area, you're limited as far as even area to get through there.
It's very, we don't have any connections except for what we call the Joshua Ditch
Yeah,
connection.
I'm just wondering if you even get a piece of equipment through there anywhere.
No, it'd be hand.
Yeah.
Well, there's the one lot we wanted to buy, the trailer's no longer there. And we could run a piece of equipment there and then
You
get
can
off. the
stage
edge
it there and
uh,
get off there.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chair, could we have a 10-minute, Eric, could you give us a 10-minute presentation on this with the aerial map next board meeting?
I can.
You can do it
Because
now.
I'd love to see what you're
Oh,
talking
just-
about.
You
Yeah.
can throw it up right now if she can.
You want to put Google Maps on? I don't want to take too much time, you know, I just,
You got the computer?
the reason being is I would just love to see, I'd love to show y'all Flagpole. You know, there's some stuff that needs to be done behind Mr. Story's house. Alethea and Dan Hanson are wanting to acquire a piece of property that's right by the S-135 on this side of Flagpole Road.
Okay.
You know, and I think we need to work with them on that. That gives us a little bit more of an area to clean. There's just, you know, but we've done a lot of work in Flagpole.
Right.
We still got a good ways to go.
Well, it would really give a lot of relief to part of North LaBelle
And Glades County.
and Glades County, correct? Because all their water's coming to us anyhow.
Glades
sir.
County sheep place.
They're underwater there, so it's gotta go
Yeah,
somewhere.
like says-
Do we have any allies in DEP that would be receptive to a conversation?
Absolutely we do. And we have a consultant. You know, Dan will make any meeting that we want to have occur with DEP.
Okay.
Dan DeLisi goes straight to the top with them.
This is a good conversation.
We
then.
were saying that we were gonna.
And I'm telling you all, we need to, you know, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would love to know what our contract details are associated with, Dan DeLisi. And when that time frame runs out, Jennifer.
I just asked Emily,
The
that,
reason being is, as that BMAP.
I think
as
it's
those-
November.
As those dollars come available, you know, we were clearly successful, right, to the tune of however many it was with Four Corners. You know, Emily and Dan, you know, pushed that on a lot of different angles. I think we need to up that contract. It's peanuts right now. I know we're going into desperate times, but I think we need to tweak it just a little and then ask him to help us because that's a large pot of money that's gonna be guaranteed regardless of what happens in the economy. DEP is gonna be flush.
No, it's definitely something we need to address for sure.
And this is huge to the governor's overall plan. And if you go further west, you don't see the results like you would in Hendry and Glades. So we have a big bullseye on us, not in a negative manner finally. It's a bullseye to want to invest into our infrastructure. We need to show them plans and projects that are out there.
But Shane,
Can you see?
how much of Pollywog is full of trees?
Is my head in your?
There's not
can
that
you
much.
see?
Right here is the Jacobs Ditch. This is the Glades County line right here. Comes down, then goes this way. This is Pollywog Creek, comes up, goes this way.
And
The lot we were looking at buying was,
That was the
right
circle, you're
here,
pretty close, yeah.
right there on Apache Circle. And we didn't send an offer letter. We got board approved as a tax deed.
Right.
He may have paid them since, but there was, when we did a title search, there was that large DEP fine. And I believe it was for erosion into the Pollywog Creek, if I remember right, but it's been a while. But we could stage there and come down and clean out, but we got box culverts here, but we have, everybody owns to the center. There's a gentleman right here, he complains about his bank eroding, but he owns to the center and we're not responsible. That's,
See, this is just like Flaghole's issue.
well, not really.
Ah,
'cause
why is it not?
Flaghole was ditches man-made that were controlled by the flag.
Can I boil it down? Flaghole was water stood behind people's houses.
Right.
And it wouldn't get to where it needed to go.
Correct.
Could you not make an argument that
This
water's
is-
flowing really aggressively here, there's some erosion that's occurring, it's a
This
drainage
is-
issue, it's behind people's houses and we don't have access to clean it?
This is, water is moving real fast.
Yep.
And we need to remove vegetation, and we
Yep.
also need to do stabilization in areas.
Yep.
It would be nice to have an easement, because we're gonna be investing money on private property, and we wanna keep it secure.
So, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Parker, to be clear, did I hear you say that that lot would basically just give you access to there? You still do not have access or the ability to get machinery up and down
That is,
Pollywog?
that is correct. but
And
that
when you
would give
do
us-
go up and down, I'm gonna interject here, because this board lost its mind back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, and 10, whenever Commissioner Turner said, by the way, I wasn't elected in 6 and 7, but when I said we need to go out there and fix the issue that's 35 plus years in Flaghole. Oh, we can't enter in on people's property, we can't do this, that, and the other. I want y'all to hear me, the guy from Clewiston, saying we need to get our narrow tails in there and fix this. I don't care if it is private property. We need to find a way to get right of entry and we need to address it. Shane, you're not saying we can't do it.
No, I'm not saying you can't do it. In Flaghole.
See, he
they
said
were-
in Flaghole we couldn't do it. But
And-
I'm so happy to hear him say we can do it here.
I didn't say
I dig it the most, all right? So let's get the right of entries and let's fix their issue.
Flaghole, just to be clear for the board, Flaghole was where the plat had a dedication to the Flaghole Drainage District or certain right-of-ways, but the plat didn't have an acceptance from the Flaghole Drainage District, so
It was no man's land.
it's like if I record a deed, giving it to the board, if the board didn't accept it, doesn't mean we own it. There's a conservation easement recorded in Henry County just like that, but we didn't accept it, we didn't even know we were getting it.
Yep.
So in this case, so we got those legal documents where we actually own those right-of-ways, we have those easements in 7K estates, and we're.
I'm just tickled to death that you're bringing this to us and we're gonna fix it.
This one is, we'd like to get the bushes out, pepper bushes out, and we need to do some restoration. I know right here at this house, gentleman come to see us and was actually wanting us to do something, but did not want to sign the right of entry for us to do anything.
We can't have
So-
one and the other.
It becomes problematic, but
Helicopter.
ideally, we want easements, and we can come and go as we please, and we would have loved to own that lot right there, because that'd be a staging point for all times, but.
Well, we just gotta be careful, Mr. Chair, but I mean, I'd rather be careful and make a mistake, but fix something than not do anything and say, well, we can't do it because we can't get entry.
And
You know what I
we
mean?
need to go in there, we need to go and talk to them, you know, and really certain times of the year, when it's dry,
Yep.
we could walk down that thing.
We can. He gets,
And that's why, you know, this one, we can
Ankle
wait
deep
until
spots.
January.
does that satisfy the presentation?
I think that's perfect. Thank you. That was great. We don't need a 10-minute presentation.
That's all I needed to know. Sir? Oh. I think that's all I had too. Does anybody have anything else before we close? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Money.
Shane.
Jump on that.
Say what?
Before you got there, we moved a motion and we're gonna name some sidewalks after